Hey guys, Leah Michelle, Resistance Chicks. It is February 21st, 2017. It's a Tuesday, so yesterday was President's Day, and we want to give you a little bit of the,
here's the thing,
best president ever.
Day, and we should be celebrating
presidents and
our
George
presidents
Washington's
and the
birthday.
good things that they have done, and George Washington's birthday, the founder, like the first president. He's done awesome things. This is an amazing story, and if you want to know the real history of America, check out Wall Builders, David Barton. This is his son, Tim Barton, and he's going to tell this amazing story. I love this story. You've heard it 500 times about how George Washington has had bullets shot through him and God protected him. So,
in the mid-1700s, before there was an American nation, the French and British fought for control of the interior parts of America, the land eastward of the Mississippi River, and what became known as the French and Indian War. The Indians sided with the French and the Americans with the British. In 1755, General Edward Braddock arrived from England with 2 full regiments of troops. His job was to expel the French forces that were camped along the Ohio Valley territory. When he arrived, he heard tales of a young American officer whom he sought to add to his staff. This was a 23-year-old George Washington. George Washington and 100 Virginia buckskins joined General Braddock and his troops. In May of 1755, General Braddock and his troops marched toward the French Fort Duquesne, which is now Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. His troop was so large that it stretched for 4 miles long. After weeks of marching, when they were only a few miles from the fort, General Braddock unknowingly led his troops into a waiting ambush. The French and Indians, who were hiding behind the trees, opened fire on the British troop. And even though the British troop was much larger than their foe, General Braddock was not used to fighting an enemy who would not meet him on an open field. The French and Indians slaughtered the British troops, who made easy target with their bright red uniforms. The Indians specifically targeted the British and the American officers, knowing if they could kill the officers, the remaining troops would scatter. During the course of the battle, they shot every mounted officer except one. George Washington was the only mounted officer not shot during that battle, although he did have 2 horses shot out from under him. After hours of a brutal slaughter, when General Braddock was finally shot, George Washington assumed control of the troops and led them in a retreat to safety. When George Washington got back to Fort Cumberland, he wrote his brother and his mother a letter to assure them of his safety. He told them that,
"By the miraculous care of Providence, I have been protected beyond all human probability or expectation. For I had 4 bullets through my coat, and 2 horses shot under me, yet escaped unhurt, although death was leveling my companions on every side of me."
In fact, other history books recount that after the battle he even brushed bullet fragments out of his hair. Word of Washington's miraculous survival spread quickly, and the Indians and American colonists sang his praise. In fact, one Indian chief, Red Hawk, who was instrumental in the French victory, told of shooting at Washington 11 different times without hitting him. And because his rifle was known as the one that never missed his mark, he ceased firing at Washington, convinced that the Great Spirit protected him. 15 years after this battle, in 1770, which was then a time of peace, Washington and his friend were exploring the undeveloped territory of that region, which was very near where the French and Indian War had taken place 15 years prior. One night, a group of Indians approached their camp, and an Indian chief stepped forward and told Washington,
"I have traveled a long and weary path, that I might see the young warrior of the great battle. It was on the day when the white man's blood mixed with the streams of our forest that I first beheld you. I called to my young men and said, 'Quick, let your aim be certain. He dies.' Our rifles were leveled, rifles which but for you knew not how to miss. 'Twas all in vain. A power mightier far than we shielded you. Seeing you were under the special guardianship of the Great Spirit, we immediately ceased to fire at you. I am come to pay homage to the man who is the particular favorite of heaven, and who can never die in battle."
Among George Washington's many accomplishments, one that is worth noting is at times, because of divine intervention, he was bulletproof.
Okay, so
For more
instead of the Not My President's Day, they could have been celebrating this. And that's what's a shame. I'm so excited. That makes that story, every single time I hear it, makes me so happy, because George Washington gave praise to God, and the Indians honored the great creator and the great spirit. They recognized whether, whatever they thought the great spirit or God was, they recognized that George Washington had him. And I love that.
And I love that he came. I love that he came and he visited with George Washington.
Yeah.
And that was a peace that he was making. And so for all the evil that has happened in our country,
Yeah.
for all the bad that has happened, there have been rights taken away from Native Americans. But not all the people that came over here were like that. And the majority were not.
Right.
And a few bad apples seem to spoil the narrative, especially in our schools today.
Yeah.
So you're not going to hear the good. You're only going to hear that we stole land from the Indians and we're bad and evil. But we're here now, let's enjoy it.
Right.
But actually that's not the way that you can see it like that. You have to see that Jefferson was reaching out to Native Americans, and there was such an outreach to Native Americans, and that there were good Indians and bad Indians. So there's good white people and bad white people.
Right.
I mean, when our Pilgrims fathers landed here, they made peace with the Wampanoag, and they were friends. They were like brothers.
Oh, yeah.
And they actually formed an alliance against bad Indians who were trying to wipe out the Wampanoag.
Right.
And always trying to attack them. And so I think that the story is much deeper, much more complex. And when we hear stories like this, we can begin to put the pieces back together, and how how America was great.
Right.
And how God did found this country. And these are the stories that you're not going to hear, and you're not going to hear goosebumps in a public school when you're thinking about the founding of our country, because you don't get to hear these awesome stories.
Right. So there you go. There's our ode and tribute to the President's Day that we kind of missed out on yesterday because we were busy. But this is Leah Michelle signing off for Resistance Chicks, where it's not a conspiracy theory if it's the truth. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Mass Faith 3 and Resistance Chicks. Ring that bell for notifications so you get an email every time we put out new videos. And find us on Facebook, where we can interact with you guys on a daily basis. We love you. God bless. See you back in a bit.
I was cold.